That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
I was not expecting a new anime project for Spice and Wolf. As of now, no one knows if it's a new season or a full-on remake, but either way I think this is great news not only for fans of Spice and Wolf, but for the entire fantasy and romance genres. Now, do you remember Spice and Wolf, or have you even heard of it? Either way, I'm here to tell you why you should care about Spice and Wolf getting a new anime, and I'll do it by talking about the original adaptation. So, Spice and Wolf is a 2008 anime based on a light novel of the same name, and it's one of the most unique fantasy series I've personally watched. It's not about battles or politics, there are no wizards or knights with holy swords. It's about economics and romance, and I know those two don't seem like the most natural fit, but trust me, waifu good, money good, therefore waifu that makes you money should be up there. Spice and Wolf tells us the story of Kraft Lawrence, a traveling merchant who wants to save enough to open up a store, and the events that unfold after his encounter with wise wolf Holo. Holo is a wolf deity celebrated for blessing the harvest. However, as the years went by and humans learn better farming methods and become more self-reliant, she's become no more than a folktale. So these two end up traveling together, with Holo helping him out as his business partner in return for him taking her back north to her original home of Yoitsu. With his intelligence and her cunning, they travel the countryside in search of opportunities to make money, and end up developing a deeper bond than either expected. This anime is a blend of smart dialogue, cute moments, and stonks. It's quite different from your run-of-the-mill action fantasy tale, as the conflicts are fought with wits and not fists. The Holo-Lawrence interactions are like a sort of predecessor of banter-centric shows, such as Bunny Girl, Takagi-san, and so on. And although there is a formula to it that is done over and over again, never really gets played out. They go from one town to the next trying to make a profit while getting closer to each other and engaging in well-written dialogue. Rinse and repeat. But there are always enough new things happening to keep the formula interesting. The show is mostly divided between interactions where Holo and Lawrence trade blows with their wits, and scenes where together they try to get the best trades possible. And it amazes me how entertaining it is for an anime that is 80% the same two people talking back and forth. Their dynamic is one of the most interesting ones out there, they complement each other very well on screen. For these characters, dialogue is a game they play. They are both aware of the implications hidden in their statements, and few lines are meant to be taken at face value. And while both are portrayed as smart, neither is infallible. Lawrence can be greedy, and sometimes his attempts to think many steps ahead can backfire. And Holo is also far from perfect. Well, she is perfect, but she's also not always right. She makes mistakes as, despite being very competent herself, she knows very little about the current state of affairs, currencies, or market values. Also, she is such a glutton that I have no idea how Lawrence is making enough money to have any sort of profit at all. She's lucky she's cute. The side cast is also top-notch for the kind of show this is. While a lot of characters only show up for one arc alone, they give off a strong enough impression to not feel unnecessary, and they help flesh out the world. However, even as I praise the side cast, it's hard not to deny that the core of the story itself is mostly driven by the two main leads. And unlike some other shows focused on two characters outwitting one another, it always stays a healthy dynamic. Their playfulness never oversteps bounds, and they both show genuine concern over the other, knowing full well when to stop joking around. Also, one of my favorite things is how the show respects the audience's intelligence, and doesn't over-explain everything to make sure you understand. I'd say this is probably the kind of thing people are asking for when they say they want something that is smart, but not condescending. And just like a lot of light novel adaptations, as a general rule, the fanbase is not going to be a reason to avoid Spice and Wolf. Yes, they simp over Holo, but 1, she's an adult, and 2, so will you. Now, even though I'm trying to get you to watch it, I should probably talk about a few aspects that have not aged as well. Although I would expect them to be addressed in case the new anime project is a remake. And if there's aspects that could be a turnoff for some, it would either be the production value or the pacing. While I'm a big fan of the late 2000s aesthetic, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well, the animation isn't as consistent as we've come to expect from shows nowadays. However, both the character and background illustrations are very good, and thanks to it being a dialogue-centric series instead of an action fantasy, I wouldn't say it affected my experience that much. Now, the voice acting was a bit more up and down for me. I'm not a fan of the voice for Lawrence, as I'd say he sounds a lot younger than expected. However, I'd say Amiko Shimizu is absolutely brilliant as Holo, and I hope she'll be back to play her role once more. Now, I should probably also mention that the dub is a legitimate option for this show. I still prefer the sub, but the English cast did a great job as well. And the second thing that might be a turnoff is the pacing. With modern anime, we expect a lot faster pacing than we used to, so for some it might feel like the story's taking longer than it should. As a character-driven show, I would like to believe this wouldn't be a big deal, but I'm a big fan of the characters, so I might be more entertained by the banter than some others would. Now, while I said some aspects might have aged poorly, overall I enjoy this show much more on a rewatch now than I did over a decade ago, and I think you're likely to do so as well. Because I know there's a lot of people who love fantasy but are getting tired of how few unique ones we get, as most of them tend to be high fantasy action adventure stories. I will always have a soft spot for shows with great character interactions, and Spice and Wolf might very well be one of the best examples we have for this. While a lot of times in this kind of show, one of the two main characters will clearly overpower the other's presence, this isn't really the case here. Don't get me wrong, Holo might very well be one of the most charismatic characters in all of anime, capable of stealing the spotlight at any given time, but no character holds on to the spotlight for too long. Holo and Lawrence enhance each other's presence instead of diminishing it, and this is what sets it apart. This balance is usually very hard to maintain, but there is no arc where I'd say one of the two leads overshadowed the other. They are at their most interesting when they share the screen, and so it's great that they do share the screen for most of the show. Back when I said 80% of this show is just Lawrence and Holo talking, I was not exaggerating, and I wouldn't say this series is much beloved in spite of it, but because of it. Despite not every aspect having aged perfectly, Spice and Wolf managed to be even better than what I remembered. As I said at the start, Spice and Wolf is a blend of smart dialogue, cute moments, and stonks, and I hope I managed to convince some of you to check it out, be it the 2008 version or whatever it is we get out of this new announcement. So, as Holo is quite the glutton, comment down below how many apples you would give her. And without further ado, I'm Ayvhel, signing out.